Now, can we talk about more serious business? We talk
Yes.
about Hidenburg coming for Chamath Palihapitiya. How
Something that
excited am
Danny
I?
finds very interesting. Yes.
Yes,
Let's move on from a story that I find very interesting
that's correct.
to a story that you find interesting. I
That's
swear to
very.
God, folks, it's like being married to a, you know.
Please stop referring to us that way. That is the weirdest thing you could possibly say. So, Chamath Palihapitiya formed an S-PAC and took
Okay,
this company
folks,
called.
before he gets into this stupid show, he says stop saying that we're married or whatever. But before we started recording today, he made fun of me because I didn't notice and compliment his hair from last thing. That I didn't compliment him on the fact that he got a haircut for our last episode. So you know what, Danny? I'm just presenting the evidence to the
Okay.
folks out there that are
Can I
watching.
just say something?
Oh,
I
go
went
ahead.
from drastically longer hair,
There's no
lopped it all
defense
off.
for you getting on to me for not noticing your haircut and complimenting it. No defense. No
Yeah, I know.
defense.
Yeah.
So go on to your Hindenburg.
Okay. So this company, we have reported on Hidenburg Research's business before.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about Nikola. They
Yep.
they had a huge short position in Nikola. Right now, they don't hold a short Clover. But what's interesting is Chamath Palihapitiya, also
Which
my
I'm
third
not going to
cousin.
attempt to say in any way, fashion, or form.
Well, he's Sri Lankan, so he's Canadian Sri Lankan. So I don't really, you know, he's one of these people who I like, but I also disagree with. Says a lot of important and interesting things. CEO of Social Capital. He was at Facebook for a while. He's a venture capitalist guy. Interesting, again, Canadian. Um, so SPAC, big man, you know Wall Street. Tell everyone what
I
an
do.
SPAC is.
Well, look, and I'm going to shorten this and try to make it not too long. There are two ways to become a publicly traded company, right? On the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, whatever, right? One of them is to create and go through the long, lengthy process of getting approved by one of those, like NASDAQ, right, or whatever, which can take years and years and years. The other way, which most people
Called an
do,
IPO.
it's called an IPO, yes. But it takes years of basically the government being up in your books, hundreds and hundreds of hours of accounting and third-party software stuff. It's painstaking. Been down that process. One of the quicker ways that goes through it, been through it. One of the quicker ways is this process, which Chamath is apparently in the business of, which is acquiring what they call a shell company, basically a failed IPO, a company that doesn't exist anymore, their stock has very little value, and you just acquire, you literally purchase all of their shares, and in some cases, those investors, if you have bag holders that own that company, right, and then you turn around and just incorporate yours into it, and then all of a sudden, you have an IPO without going IPO, right? You
Very
are on
smart.
the Nasdaq, right? And you have your
Brilliant.
company obviously has value. It's a real company, that kind of. And there's people like Chamath that specialize in these kind of business moves, right? So it's how he took a company, in this case Clover Health, from a private company to a public company without an IPO.
Right. And Chamath Palihapitiya has been noteworthy the last couple of weeks, of course. And at some point in time, Big Man and I will spend a little more time talking about Wall Street billionaires and what I would call blue collar just regular guy billionaires, like Elon Musk and other people get the jokes and they're interesting. Chamath
Mm-hmm.
is one of these people. A company called Social Capital is he's a populist of some sort, right? And he's trying to buy up and develop and expand companies that really affect the ordinary average person. And what's interesting is he took this company, Clover Health, and public through SPAC process. Looks like, according to Hindenburg research, that they have not informed everybody of the entire facts of everything that they're doing.
Okay,
Oopsie.
so Clover Hidenburg Research Company again.
Right.
Why do you
Again,
and I know their name? Because they're the ones that released the
Nikola.
Nikola data, right? And said
But let
Nikola's
me
a
let me tell
fraud.
you something. Hindenburg Research does not have a short position at this point in time in Clover. Also, let me just throw this out there.
Mm-hmm.
Hindenburg Research, freaking amazing name.
Well, you're bringing companies down, so. But look, so here's all the information you and I are saying today are from this Hindenburg, right? Which
Yeah,
you'll
from
link
this
down below
Hidenburg.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So based on this article, I have no insider knowledge that this is actually the case, but according to this article, Chamath.
Do we
Now
ever
look,
have insider knowledge? This is idiots versus idiots.
it
We have,
probably not. I'm
yeah, we
I'm
don't have
saying
any
now it's a
insider knowledge
disclaimer.
ever.
We have no insider knowledge ever
We
about
don't know
anything that we say.
anything.
We know nothing. It's why we
We
call
have
it idiots
we
versus
literally
idiots.
have a show. By the way, for the commenters who are going to catch me on the street, and they're going to find out how we do justice in Texas. Okay,
Get out of here.
right?
The fact is we call the show idiots. If we ever get sued, I'm just going to show them our logo and be like, idiots versus idiots.
What do you want us?
No,
We
no,
literally have a show,
what
and
do you
it's
want?
called Idiots
Well,
versus Idiots.
It's
We don't know anything.
we know nothing. Anyway, here's my issue. People in his industry that do these SPAC, things,
Right.
are typically looked on very slimily, right? Because they're the middleman. They're getting paid to link up investors, a company, and these shell companies that don't exist, right? So
Clover, by the way, was apparently has a bunch of supporters, or I don't know what, investors that are celebrities. A bunch of celebrity investors.
according to what I got out of the article, Chamath brought that on. He
Yeah.
was the introducer between Clover Health, a company, and then
Yes.
your big time investors. In this case, some celebrity names that you would
'Cause
recognize.
I remember when I watched the Bloomberg the snippet of Chamath talking about taking this company public with an SPAC.
Right.
And I remember looking into Clover Health and going, this is such an interesting company. Now Hindenburg Research is pointing out, oopsie daisy, it's an interesting company. Like there was another company that any business that is really trying to innovate in the healthcare space ends up getting this kind of exposure where people go, Zenefits was another one, right? Zenefits was a huge company out of Scottsdale that had not same thing, but I'm just saying, like it turns out some of their licensure that they were using.
Well, and this is where, okay, we live in a country that is buyer beware, right? That meaning you are in charge of your own money.
Caveat emptor.
Caveat, yes, right? You are in charge of your money. So in this case, disclosures didn't happen that Clover Health is being investigated by the Department of Justice and a couple of other of your alphabet, right?
The alphabet
places
boys.
out there, right? The alphabet boys and stuff. So
Oopsie daisy.
by not disclosing that, did Chamath, right, create a situation? Is he liable for the people the investors he introduced to Clover Health and vice versa? And this is why this is kind of a slimy industry, people that do this, is because there's not a whole lot of, there's all kinds of regulation when it comes to that stuff. But when things happened and when they didn't happen can get pretty gray. Does that make sense? And people get away with it a lot more than you think, because Chamath's going to come back and say, well, that was Clover Health's job to disclose that to you.
Right.
Or I did disclose that to you, but you don't know or remember, or you know what I mean, or
you
whatever.
don't understand what I was trying to tell you.
And then the other thing that comes up a lot in these cases, especially with high profile people, these celebrities and stuff like that, they're not the ones that are actually making that decision. It could be their money guy that's making that decision. It could be a middleman that's making that decision. And then they go, okay, wait a minute, now my name's associated with Clover Health that's being, by the Department of Department of Justice.
For all we know, he sent his accountants and attorneys down to Clover to do all of the diligence, and he just read a bunch of reports, and this whole thing slipped under the radar of one of his people that was going to do the diligence, and it's not entirely his fault. The reason I wanted to do this story, the reason it interests me is, for some reason, Chamath Palihapitiya is sticking my craw, and I kind of like to see it burning to the ground. Not him, but I'm just saying, like, everything he's about is kind of like, he's a try-hard. Let me put it that way. He feels
What's
to
a
me
try-hard?
Like he's just a guy who's trying to dang hard project this thing. I don't know, okay? It seems to me like Elon Musk, not a try-hard. Mark Cuban, not a try-hard. This guy might be a try-hard. Just saying. But, so, it was just because the story is also interesting because we'll talk about it in later stories. up this month. But SPACs as a process
Yeah.
exploded in 20.
Oh,
Huge
well,
growth
and
in
will
SPAC.
continue to do. There are so many failed companies out there and there's a lot of benefits to doing it. It's much, like I said, a much quicker process and stuff like that. And I think you will see it a lot more going forward because it's a great way for companies to raise capital when they need it, right?
Right.
By getting into these already publicly traded companies and then being able to have offerings at different times to raise capital. There's a company out there right now that is going through, and again, they just passed $7 million in sales. They want to add a bunch of products to their right output and stuff like that. So they're already a profitable company, but just because you're a profitable company doesn't mean you have a ton of money to shove into new products, right?
Right.
New areas and stuff like that. So they turn around and offer $100 million worth of, you know what I mean, stock for people to
Right.
buy. Here's brand new printed stock, right? We're gonna sell it until we hit that number of $100 million, and
Right.
then now we've got $100 million to put into our product lines and stuff like that. So I think you're gonna see it a lot where traditionally publicly traded companies, real ones, right? We're not talking
Right.
about Wolf of Wall Street penny stocks here. We're talking about
Right.
actual companies that are trying to create a product or deliver a service, right? Whatever. I
Right.
think you're going to see a lot smaller companies go this route so that they can raise capital in a
Right.
way that, guess what, benefits everybody, right?
Of course. Yeah.
Venture capitalists, to me, I love venture capitalists and I love the way that it's set up, but angel investors and venture capitalists have had a niche market of really
Right.
big companies forever. And I would
Yeah.
love to see that broken up. By going this route, you're
And
actually
that's
offering the average person a way to get into startups.
right. And that is what Chamath's is. I said he's kind of a populist and he's kind of an advocate of investor. And like I said, there's something about him that rubs me the wrong way. I still like listening to the guy. I listen to a lot of his
I want to get
interviews.
down and dirty on that. What's this try hard thing? Like I don't understand what you're. So I get what you're saying that Elon Musk, Bill Gates, right? These people
Not
aren't
Bill
try
Gates. I
like.
never said Bill Gates. I said Mark Cuban.
I'm sorry, Mark
Mark, I
Cuban.
can't even say my thoughts about the other guy.
Yeah, well, okay. So what makes them not try hard guys and this a try? I don't get it.
There is just a feeling or a vibe of authenticity that I like Chamath, right?
So you're saying he's a slime ball. You're saying you
No,
don't
but
you
okay, I'm
don't
not
feel
saying he's a slime
truthfulness
ball.
running off of him.
What's that?
You don't feel truthfulness running off of him. You don't.
There's something incongruent in my mind that his message of capital and we're going to better the blah 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 yada yada.
I'm that guy.
The average guy, the little guy, that whole to me seems like marrying that with big business. There is something about it that goes, and there's something less incongruent about a guy who's like, yeah, I'm doing this to make money.
Okay, so basically, you have a problem with anybody that doesn't think exactly like you. That's the
Well,
gist of
I
because
mean,
that's what you just said. That's what you
basically,
just
I mean,
said.
yes, of
Like
course.
you don't believe people if they don't literally say to your face they're out to get you. They're out to take
Well,
from you. They're
okay,
out to
listen.
steal your money.
Well, let me
Like
put you this
that's
way. I forget the guy's name off the top of my head, and you won't remember him because you're from Dallas. He's a furniture store out in Houston.
okay.
Save you money. Uh,
I remember the commercials back in the '80s, right? The come
yes,
on
80s
down
and
and
yeah,
that's car stereos, right? We had a car
yeah,
stereo
something like
guy in
that.
Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah, so that guy who sells furniture openly talks about how he's like, well, I'm part social worker, part entrepreneur. His furniture store in the back has a high school. It
Okay.
has a trade school. It has all this other stuff. When I hear that guy talk about, I'm trying to impact my community in Houston. We get people jobs in the furniture store, then we put them through school in our trade school in the back, or we get them to finish their GED. Any of the things I just said, there's no for some reason it feels correct and it works. The
Okay.
guy's actually from Dallas. When Chamath says it, I go, you sound like you're trying to dang hard. Appeal to an emerging market of people who are interested in business and entrepreneurship. It still are kind of like these Bernie Sanders fans,
All
and they're
right,
like,
take it
yeah,
down a notch. Take it down a notch. All right, but
no,
yeah.
I'm
All
not
right,
going to
so
take anything
so
down a
it's an
notch.
authenticity
You
issue.
don't tell me what to say or do.
Again, we're back to the I can't tell my apparently podcast wife to calm down. Um, the can we? So you're it's an authenticity problem. Is your problem? It's not a try. It's not a him trying to do good things. It's an authenticity problem.
And listen, I again need to repeat. Don't know the guy.
Right.
Okay, I can only talk about when I hear him talk on what I hear him say. He's on CNBC or he's getting interviewed by someone, right? And there's something about what he's saying that goes, I know you're saying, I think you're saying what I think you want people, that you think people want to hear. You're not
Right.
saying what you think, you're saying what you people want. And that to me is a person who we just got listen, and it turns out, yeah, oopsie, oopsie. Got to mention a couple things.
So
You know?
I this is a sad day for me because I feel like I agree with you a little bit. Like I agree with you. My mother used to say you can't bullshit a bullshitter,
That's
right?
right.
And
And
that one of the things that my wife loves about me is the fact that I see through a lot of that where she can't a lot of times.
yeah,
She's
no,
like, "Well,
and
why
it's
don't you think blah blah blah?" And I'm like, "Let me break this down for you why I don't want to work with this individual." And then she's like, "Oh, that makes sense."
and let me compliment Big Man on his radar here. Bullcrap radar. I distinctly recall one time he just said something. He's like, "Come on, man! I know you got nothing to do today. You're just going to go back to your apartment with your shades drawn and your computer on." I was like, "Holy crap! How did he know exactly?" Like, is that apartment for some reason I couldn't figure out how to like open the shades because, and then I realized later.
Whatever excuses you got, go ahead.
But no, I realized it's like I was like, "Holy crap! He's entirely correct." And it was one time. Big Man is mostly incorrect, I think.
Sure,
But
yeah,
it
sure.
was one time where he was like, he got it totally correct. And he sometimes, not always, because, we've talked about other subjects, podcasts, which we now have to avoid. He goes on a diatribe about, you don't understand, and blah, blah, blah. And I say,
Yes.
you don't understand. The world is coming to an end, and I'm going to profit off.
Yeah, and that's
Nonetheless,
exactly where we need to stop this particular story. Don't forget, folks, that
we don't have
this
to stop anything. I'll do a fifth story if I want to. I'll do it without you. I had the passwords to our YouTube account.
I should have never shared those with you. Um, this episode, as Danny's enjoying right now, was brought to you by Liquid Death. Which, what's their tagline, Danny?
Murder your thirst.
Murder
Liquid
your
death,
thirst.
murder your thirst.
Please use Idiots10 for 10% off. Get it sent to you. Let us know when you tried it, what you think, that kind of stuff. I've got a couple of cases headed my way so that I can try it.
It's water. I mean,
Well,
good,
it's what they've got two
good
apparently.
water.
They've got they got water and they got carbonated water. I guess
Sparkling water. Oh
sparkling
my
water.
gosh.
Whatever.
Are
I
you
don't care.
1,000 years old?
I don't care. I don't care. That's it. I'm done with you today. I've had
Great.
it. You
I
suck.
agree.
Okay,
Up
you're an
yours.
idiot. Okay.
You too.
What else? Do you need anything else from me
That's
today?
I don't need anything from you ever.
He says that, but he'll call me later.
Okay. Well, people, this is Danny for Idiots versus Idiots, and I'm signing off reminding you, work at a bagel shop, not slice a bagel symmetrically. How do you sleep?
I'm so sorry, folks. He's an idiot. We'll see you next time.